Hello, this is Prophecy Watchers, and I'm Gary Stearman, and it's a pleasure to be with you once again, especially today because we have a guest whom many of you have seen several times on our programs, and he's back, and he's, as always, Bill Salus is working on a new book. It's good to have you here, Bill.
Gary, thanks for having me on the program again. It's great to be back doing a show with you, Gary.
And these are special times we're living in right now. And we're going to talk today about some of the things that are happening in Israel and the world that seem to be following a course that will fulfill Bible prophecy in the very near future. And I think that's the key to all this. We're living in the times that these things are happening.
I concur. I believe that ancient prophecies are going to roll off their parchments and pound down on the pavement very soon. We're seeing all the end time signs converging. There's no weapon that's not fashioned, no relationship that's not formed, no technology that's not developed that would slow down the speed of Bible prophecies finding fulfillment soon and sequentially.
Now, as you look, and you don't even have to be a student of the Bible. If you simply look at global politics, tensions are building every day, just like clockwork. And you can look at Europe, you can look at China, you can look at the Middle East, look at Russia and Ukraine. And just day by day, the pressure and the tension is building. But the Bible has a lot to say about this.
Yeah, these are wars that were prophesied, centuries ago. In the end times, Gary, the world is a war-torn world. And these wars are the prophetic wars that I'm writing about and sequencing in the book. They're prophetic signposts as to where we're at on the end times line. And they're stage setting to happen in the very near future. And they will start, each war will lead to another war. They will dramatically affect the world, especially the Middle East, some of these Middle East wars. And they will impact humanity, and they continue to be coming at us, ready to happen soon and sequentially.
Now, let's look first at the Middle East, because ever since 1948, Israel's return, things have been just building. They're building today. You've said a lot, for example, about Psalm 83, and we've looked at that several times. But let's start there and kind of build a foundation of where you're going.
Right. Well, Psalm 83 that we've talked about, we cover that in the Now Prophecies book extensively. Is a conclusion to the Arab-Israeli conflict. It talks about, there's 18 verses written 3,000 years ago by the prophet Asaph. He was also King David's worship leader. He talks about an Arab confederacy of the Arab states and terrorist populations that surround Israel today. They come together, they form a devious plan, they confederate together, and their goal is to cut the name of the nation of Israel off, that the name of Israel will be remembered no more. And in Psalm 83, verse 12, it says they're doing this because they want to take for themselves the pastures of God for a possession. They're doing it for the motive of wiping Israel off the map and taking over the promised land of the Jewish state. And there's all kinds of prophecies that show the Israeli defense forces actually stand up and fight a war against those Arab countries, terrorist populations, and win those wars. And we can talk more about that as the program develops, but I write about that quite a bit in the new book, The Future War Prophecies. But that's not necessarily the one I'm looking at for right next. There's another one I'm thinking might precede that particular war that leads into that war, and that's dealing with Iran, Gary.
Iran is a very interesting place. I think a lot of people underestimate the power that Iran has. They sort of keep to themselves, and they're doing super secret bomb building. A lot of people say they have a nuclear warhead ready to go right now. And of course, they're not telling anybody about that, but they are probably the most vicious, warlike people anywhere near Israel.
And the reason they're putting together a nuclear weapon is because they want to wipe Israel off the map.
And by the way, they don't hide that.
No, exactly.
They're open about it.
And Benjamin Netanyahu is now back as prime minister, and he has said ever since he's been a prime minister in Iran has been working on their nuclear program, which goes back even into the 70s. He wasn't necessarily the prime minister at that time, but they've progressed to a point now where they may actually be just months away or may already have a nuclear weapon. And they recently came out with introduced, they have a hypersonic missile, a ballistic missile that could carry a nuclear warhead.
Hypersonic.
Travels 5 times the speed of sound, a Mach 5 plus. It can diffuse, avoid missile defense systems. It can destroy missile defense systems. It can reach Israel in 400 seconds, which is 6.66 minutes. So there's no time. Once this happens, and Iran wants to start sending nuclear weapons over to Israel, Israel has virtually no time at all, just 6.66 minutes to stop the flight of a nuclear weapon coming at them.
Yeah, if you ever look at a map of the Middle East, just check the distance between Iran and Israel, and you'll discover that, wow, that's really not very far away.
Mm-hmm.
And again, they have sort of made a singular passion out of making sure that there will be a time when Israel is totally wiped off the world map. It just doesn't exist anymore. That's what they would like to see.
Yeah, the Ayatollah has said on numerous occasions, Israel is a cancerous tumor. They need to be wiped off the map. Not just the generals, it's the Ayatollah himself that is vehemently saying, we want to take Israel off the map.
And as you have written several times before, you've talked about the chapter 17 of Isaiah, and Isaiah 17 talks about the destruction of Damascus. I think we've read that, we've studied it over the years. Damascus is still there. It's doing just fine.
Yeah, Isaiah 17 is a very important prophecy that I'm watching very closely, as are many of our colleagues, because it talks about in Isaiah 17:1, it says, the burden against Damascus will cease from being a city, it will become a ruinous heap. Now, this is the oldest continuously inhabited city in recorded history. It dates back as far as the time of Abraham, 4,000 years ago. What's interesting is you read through those verses. There's 14 verses in Isaiah 17. Isaiah 17:9. Why don't you read Isaiah 17:9, Gary, and I'll kind of comment on that.
Well, in that day shall his strong cities be as a forsaken bough and uppermost branch, which they left because of the children of Israel, there shall be desolation. And we're talking about the Middle East here.
Mm-hmm.
Now, right now, if you check on the Middle East, everything is swimming. I mean, the economy is good over there, manufacturing, employment. You would think, just to take a cursory glance at Israel and the Middle East, and by the way, the Arab states are wealthy, wealthy, wealthy. So everything is going just fine. No problem, right?
Well, that's going to change, I believe, relatively quickly. And I write about this prophecy in the new book, as well as in the Now Prophecies. What you just read it tells us who causes the desolation. It says the desolation will be caused in that day. And in that day that Damascus is destroyed, there'll be desolation caused by the children of Israel. Now, if you would read Isaiah 17, verse 14, it puts a real-time application on this prophecy, Gary.
Yeah, it says, and behold, at evening time, trouble, and before the morning, he is not. This is the portion of them that spoil us and the lot of them that rob us.
Right.
So there's a reason here at the end of this chapter. This is the reason why this thing is happening. There's a lot of spoiling and robbery going on.
Right. Against Israel.
Against Israel.
That's why Israel has to come against them in a war, and it's such of a war that they actually have to take out a city. I mean, tells you the predicament that Israel finds itself in. They actually go to a point where they've got to take out a city. And what you just said is that at eventide you see him, alluding to Damascus in the masculine pronoun, but in the morning, the city's gone, he is no more. That's the portion of those that spoil us and those that plunder us. So it's self-defense.
How could you destroy a city that quickly?
Well, Israel can, because they have tactical nuclear weapons. If you launch a nuclear weapon up burst altitude just high enough, I'm not a nuclear physicist, but I think it's about 40 miles above the city area. It takes out the city like a nuclear weapon, and it goes down and it has a mushroom cloud, but it doesn't go down and take up the minerals and the particles from the earth and bring them up into the mushroom cloud and contaminate it with radiation on that level, because of course Israel and Tel Aviv is not too far away from Damascus. It's just across to the west over there, west and south. So it sounds like a nuclear weapon. Now, Israel finds itself in a predicament, a war where he actually has to take out an Arab city. And when it takes out that Arab city, I believe there'll be concern in Beirut, Amman, Jordan, Cairo, Egypt, Mecca, like, whoa, what's to stop Israel from taking out our cities, right?
Yeah.
And those are all cities and countries involved in Psalm 83. So I think we might see that once they take out Damascus, you could see the next thing going on into the war, the broader war of Psalm 83 as a result of that.
Let's pause right now because I'd just like to remind you that Bill occasionally provides articles for our magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, and if you'd like to know how to get your own copies of The Prophecy Watcher, take a look.
In case you haven't noticed, the whole world is spinning out of control, but we are not surprised because many of the things taking place were prophesied in the Bible thousands of years ago. That's why we want to offer you a very special subscription to our magazine, The Prophecy Watcher, that will keep you on the cutting edge of Bible prophecy. Stay informed on prophetic world events. Follow the nuclear threats from Russia and Iran, China's march to world domination, the likelihood of another global pandemic, the rise of artificial intelligence and transhumanism, war in the Middle East, the UFO phenomenon, and the latest technology preparing the world for the mark of the beast. With your gift of $50 or more to support the worldwide outreach of Prophecy Watchers, you will receive 12 issues of the magazine in either print or digital format. You will also receive 10 bonus DVDs that feature in-depth teaching on the ancient book of Enoch, heaven and the New Jerusalem, the biblical case for the rapture, a look at how God put the gospel in the stars, what really happened at the Tower of Babel, and Ezekiel's prophecy on the battle of Gog and Magog. This special offer is available anywhere in the United States with free shipping included. Don't wait. Pick up the phone right now and call the toll-free number on your screen or visit us at prophecywatchers.tv. Stand with us today and help us take the message of Christ's soon return to the whole world.
Okay, Bill, let's talk about Jeremiah. Jeremiah, chapter 49. The word of the Lord came to Jeremiah the prophet against Elam, the beginning of the reign of Zedekiah, the king of Judah. So a long time ago, this prophecy was laid down in the days of Jedediah. And it says, thus saith the Lord of hosts, behold, I will break the bow of Elam. And that has caused you to think a lot. I've read your works on Elam. I don't think very many other people have written about Elam the way you have.
Right.
Over the years. But tell us about it.
Yeah, and so the prophecy was written at the last year of Zedekiah's reign. Zedekiah was the last king of Israel. And we would put this time about 596 BC. And Jeremiah says that the first part of the prophecy is the Lord is going to break the bow of Elam. And it goes on to say at the foremost of their might, Jeremiah 49 verses 35. So the bow of Elam, meaning in our day and age, we're not talking about a bow with a fiery arrow on it. Elam, by the way, is on the western side. It hugs the Persian Gulf. So we put a location of that.
You can look at a map today and you won't find Elam. If you pick up one of those wonderful world maps or map of the Middle East, and you're, where's Elam? I'm looking. But it's there.
Well, Elam and Persia ancient territories comprise modern day Iran. And Elam is about a third of the size of Iran today, and Persia is about the other 2/3. And they were always geographically separated by the Zagros Mountains, as is the case today. But Elam is the subject of this prophecy. Now, Ezekiel 38, a contemporary Ezekiel of Jeremiah, wrote about 20 years after Jeremiah wrote this prophecy. He wrote about Persia and their own distinctly different prophecy of the Ezekiel 38 Gog and Magog war. So we have two different prophecies. Iran has double trouble in the end times. Both prophecies talk about being in the latter days. And so the bow is going to be broken. And what I believe is being said there is the missile launching capabilities. The hypersonic missile we just talked about. Elam is the territory that's closest to Israel. It is where the underground rocket launchers are set, the portable rocket launchers are set.
The Bible calls those the bow of Elam.
Right.
And we think of a bow and arrow, and of course an arrow is a missile, and you let it go and it goes over and gets the enemy. But you're talking about the Persian Gulf, and there's a nuclear reactor on the east shore of the Persian Gulf, and then you go on to the east, and you're in Iran, and so that's a key territory.
Well, it is. The Bushehr nuclear reactor is there. It's the crown jewel of Iran's nuclear program, and it's built where 3 tectonic plates merge, and it's an earthquake zone ready to happen. They've had an earthquake there in April of 2013, I believe it was.
And as we speak, earthquakes are happening in the Middle East, beginning to the north of Israel and proceeding southward, which may be a warning from the Lord. I don't know, but I'm watching.
Yeah, recently, the big ones in Turkey killed thousands of people, demolished thousands of buildings. And Jesus, of course, said in the end times there would be earthquakes in Matthew 24. Luke talks about great earthquakes. So we've been seeing those happening and with more intensity and more frequency. But I believe what's being said there in Jeremiah, and I believe this is the prophecy I'm watching for next, that I think would lead to Isaiah 17, the destruction of Damascus, because Iran is involved in the Jeremiah prophecy. A disaster is going to be a result of this prophecy. I believe it's a nuclear disaster because it talks about in the prophecy the indigenous people will become exiles. They'll have to flee out into the nations, plural, of the world. So it'll be a worldwide dispersion. It sounds like a humanitarian crisis. And when Iran goes through this war, it says it's pursued by the sword. So it sounds like it's a war, not an earthquake in the prophecy. Iran's going to call on its proxies. And those proxies are going to include Syria, which Damascus is the capital of Syria, Hezbollah, which is in Lebanon. They're in Psalm 83 under the Inhabitants of Tyre banner. The Hamas are in the Gaza, which is ancient Phoenicia. Ancient Phoenicia is in Psalm 83. The Houthis are down there in Yemen, who have said they now have ballistic precision-guided missiles that could hit Tel Aviv. So I believe that there's going to be Iran and a proxy war coming out of that Jeremiah 49 prophecy against Israel.
You know, due to a number of international events lately, weaponry in the Middle East is improving rapidly. When we departed from Afghanistan, we left a lot of very modern and highly technical weaponry for the enemy to use. It's like saying, go ahead and have a war. And by the way, here, take these weapons. And it's like the Lord is preparing that area for a collision of some sort. You can see it. You don't have to be all that insightful to see what's going on.
And it's a different modern day war. They're not using bows and arrows like we talked. In Jeremiah's time, the bow was the preferred weapon, right? You could go at your enemies with bows and arrows.
But the modern bow and arrow is the missile.
Hypersonic ballistic missiles. And Iran is working on intercontinental ballistic missiles, could actually go into Europe and even the east coast of America when they obtain those. So no, we're talking about a whole different time. Iran is already making advanced drones that they're selling to Russia. So the whole weaponized area over there has changed now, the whole landscape of military and arsenals.
We're talking to Bill Salus. And by the way, we're also talking about what must be a future war. Everybody is arming themselves. The money is flowing in the Middle East. The times are good. A lot of products changing hands. There's a great economy. People have got money to spend, and they're spending it on weaponry. And it's kind of scary. By the way, I'm not a warmonger. I do not want to see war coming. I'm not a warmonger. I'm not saying, oh, let's have a war so we can fulfill prophecy. That's not who I am at all. But I am watching what's happening and lamenting it, by the way. And I'm praying for the peace of Jerusalem, just as the Bible tells us. And I think we really should pray for Israel these days.
Absolutely, yeah. And of course, we don't like war. War is terrible. We see what's the mess that's going on between Russia and Ukraine right now. But the future war prophecies talks about the wars as a sequence from now on through the tribulation. There'll be a war in heaven with Michael in Revelation chapter 12 and Satan. Satan will lose. There'll be an Armageddon war. There'll be a Ezekiel 38 Gog and Magog war. There'll be a aftermath war after the millennium and the second Magog invasion in Revelation chapter 20. So the wars we're just being told in the Bible, we're just exposing them to the public. These wars are coming, like I said, in the end times. The world is a war-torn place.
I just, as you were talking, I turned to Zechariah chapters 12, 13, 14 in that area. And Zechariah has a lot to talk about in the period that we're addressing right now.
You want to read Zechariah 12, verses 2 as a starter?
Yes. Behold, I'll make Jerusalem a cup of trembling unto all the people around about.
So he's talking about a specific location, the people round about, the environment around them, the neighbors that don't like Israel, that they're part of Psalm 83, those countries, Lebanon, Jordan, Syria, Iraq is involved in Psalm 83, Saudi Arabia, Egypt, the terrorist organizations we talked about. He's talking specifically about those people when they try to lay siege on Judah and Jerusalem. Yes. A time is coming when they'll make a final effort to do that. If you read Zechariah 12, verse 6, it tells us what the outcome of that will be.
Dropping down to verse 6, it says, in that day I will make the governors of Judah like a hearth of fire among the wood, and like a torch of fire in a sheaf, and they shall devour all people round about. And it goes on from there. You can read Zechariah 12 for yourself, and I suggest that you follow all these verses that we've been looking at. Bill has made a long study of the progress toward war in the Middle East. And as much as I hate to say it, yes, there is going to be a Middle East war, but Israel is going to come out of it okay.
Right. As we read in the Damascus prophecy, the desolation is caused by the children of Israel. That'd be the Israeli Defense Forces. We see them show up again here as they wage a war against the surrounding peoples round about. Some translations say they will win that war and devour the people on the right hand and on the left hand. So clearly talking about within the proximity of Israel. We're not talking about nations at large. We're talking about the Arab enemies that have aided Israel from time immemorial, that will lay siege against Judah and Jerusalem. And it talks about the captains, or the Israeli Defense Forces, it uses the word in Zechariah 12:6, the Elufim. Now, I think we did a show once upon a time, and you told me that the Eluf is still a term used for captains or generals or something in the Israeli Defense Forces. Is that correct?
It is correct. It is, in fact, a military rank.
Right.
So there you go. By the way, Bill's book, the one that is going to be out very soon, is called The Future War Prophecies. Take a look at this.
Someday soon, the beautiful country of Israel will be surrounded by enemies on all sides. A series of devastating battles are coming, some quite familiar like Armageddon, but others far less familiar. These future wars can be hard to decipher. The countries named in Scripture have different names today. So who can we trust to rightly divide the word? One of the world's experts on these end-time wars is our friend Bill Salus. To call Bill an expert on these future wars would be a great understatement. In Bill's latest work, The Future War Prophecies, he examines these prophecies, a roadmap to the future: the prophesied destruction of Damascus, the Psalm 83 war, and the coming sneak attack by Russia, Iran, and other Islamic enemies. It's the most comprehensive book ever written on these prophecies. Bill's book or the companion DVD are available for your gift of $25 or more, with shipping included in the USA. Order the book and DVD together for $45, and as always, we'll include a surprise gift as our way of saying thanks for supporting God's ministry. For those of you who appreciate Bill's 12 years of end times research, he's released his 5 previous books and 5 previous DVDs on a flash drive he calls the Left Behind Survival Kit. It also includes a Bible and a unique DVD, Tim LaHaye's Last Prophecy Message. All this powerful information is available on this computer flash drive for your gift of $50 or more, a $200 value, with shipping included anywhere in the USA. For our international friends, please know that additional shipping costs may apply. As conflicts increase all over the world, we know that the Bible speaks of wars and rumors of wars. Soon, these end-time prophecies will explode on the world and reality will set in. We are living in exciting times that make us believe that Jesus is coming very soon. Thanks for watching today, and thanks for your faithful support of this ministry.
Well, Bill, you're working hard, and I'm glad you are, and you're making it easy for people who want to study prophecy to do so. You've provided, I think in a way that nobody else has, a kind of a pathway. Step 1, step 2, step 3, and you're just showing everybody how things are going to proceed in the Middle East according to prophecy.
Right. The goal of this book series, and of course the Future War Prophecies now sort of is the capstone of it, is to take the reader and the viewer, we have DVDs as well available with you guys, to take the reader from here to eternity. You know, wars are coming on the nearby horizon. They were predicted. As Gary said, we're not wanting them, we're not warmongers, but they are coming, and they will affect humanity and mankind adversely, you know, as wars do. Famines, pestilences, and scarcities result in certain areas. Wars in the Middle East, of course, you can see the Persian Gulf gets shut down, and oil, about a quarter of the world's oil still comes through there. That spigot could be cut off. So we want you to know about these prophecies because they will affect you. Now, Jesus is going to come real soon and take his church out of here in a pre-tribulation rapture. But that does not mean that will happen before some of these wars. We pray it'll happen immediately, right, Gary?
Right. Now, I have gone over to the back of my Bible here, and I'm now looking at Revelation chapter 6. Talks about the opening of seals, and the first seal, of course, as probably all of you know, a white horse, the white horse of the oppressor, the Antichrist, rides forth. Second seal is the seal of war. But I wanted to focus on 6:2 here, where it says, he has a bow, and a crown's given to him, and he went forth conquering and to conquer. Where does this fit in to what we've been talking about?
Well, I believe the Antichrist comes on the scene after the church has been raptured, and he comes on the scene to conquer and conquering, and then the second seal, the fiery red horse, looks to be like there'll be world wars. And the world wars would then lead to the black horseman, the third seal, with famines, scarcities, and pestilences. Now, we're talking probably on a worldwide level. Now, the church, in my estimation, is not going to be here for that particular war. We could be here for some of the other wars that could happen in the near future in the Middle East and stuff. But the bottom line is, you know someone you love who is not saved right now, who could be left behind, and they would start to go through a war-torn world like we've never seen before. What Gary just alluded to in the seal judgments, the first, second, third, and fourth seals, are massive wars that are devastating to humanity, Gary.
Now, as a Christian, you're not looking to be caught up in horrible global wars. You're looking up. You're waiting for the Lord to come. And if you're not, pray that prayer today. Lord, save me in the name of the Lord Jesus Christ. And he will, you know. And by the way, Bill's watching, so am I. We're prophecy watchers. I'm Gary Stearman. Hey, keep watching. We are.